What is going on, you guys? So recently I did a video about what I felt were the biggest mistakes that newcomers could make when playing a Souls game for the first time. And as I was creating that video, I took to Twitter to ask my followers what they felt were the biggest mistakes that they could make. And I got a lot of responses. A lot. You guys came through heavy. So I wanted to do a follow-up video where we just kind of go through some of these comments, see what maybe we can agree on or disagree on, or maybe something that's just universally well known as a fact that newcomers could use to their advantage. I would like for them to come to this video and learn something, or at least have some of these in the back of their mind. And I think as a group, for us to give them this advice would be kind of awesome. All right, so this is the tweet right here, my question. What do you think is the biggest mistake gamers make when starting a Souls game for the first time? And like I said, just a lot of comments. So I'm gonna start at the top. We got a familiar face right here. Rev, shout out to Rev, he had a funny answer where he said, turning the game on. Now, if you're not familiar with Rev, he's had his time with some Souls games, and Elden Ring in particular is the most recent that I watched from him, and he was going through it. Kinda, just a tad. And you know, he has his opinion about Souls games, and I feel like deep down he wants to like them, but he just can't because of the formula, and it's not really for him in a sense. He doesn't like to farm, he doesn't like to do the things that are kind of required to play it the right way, right? And so him commenting this doesn't surprise me. He pretty much ratioed me too, by the way. Rev, you ratioed me, so that's funny. But yeah, he had a funny comment there, so I wanted to give some love to Rev because he's definitely been through it with some of these Souls games. I can tell you that. Risk It for the Biscuit kind of said the same thing. He said pressing the start button. He's just like, you know, I shouldn't have pressed that start button. Big Mike, shout out to Big Mike, he said speccing their character. I did it on Elden Ring and you and Luca helped me. Hey, I didn't even see this comment yet. Awesome, I'm glad we did. But yeah, speccing, you know, leveling up, I guess finding your build if that's kind of your aim to do in the games. Yeah, it could take some time to kind of figure out what the heck you're even doing. I said it in my first video when it came to these mistakes, and I said, you know, sometimes they don't level up correctly, they don't farm, you know, they don't really beef up their character to be ready for these enemies and these bosses, and it can be easy to make those mistakes. I know I kind of went through that. You're kind of putting souls into different categories that maybe you shouldn't be doing, and it just kind of happens. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Alton, kind of with the same idea, he says spending your souls on wrong attributes. I mean, you can do what you want, but it's always good to focus on one thing. So if you want to be a strength build, you focus on strength. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the basics right there. I always say go strength. That's just a safe build. That's what I do all the time. Even still, I do strength. And it's just kind of that safe character, I think, that I would tell anybody to do, honestly, especially their first time. Dave, he kind of expanded on what I said already in the first video, which is, you know, thinking that the combat could be hack and slash when it's not. Definitely not. It's more methodical. You kind of have to slow things down. But yeah, we did talk about that in the first video. I did focus on that. T-Rock kind of with the similar idea about stats and how they affect things, but he focused on weapons, which is important too. Sometimes you might want to use a weapon, but you don't understand that you can't yet because you got to level up a certain part of it, whether it's like dex or strength or whatever. It's like you can't really use it to its full potential till you do those stats. You know, it could be anything really, that you're just not leveling up correctly. And I like how T-Rock, he focused on weapons. So that's another thing to think about, and definitely a mistake that people can make. I know I did. I'm sure I did. Chris says, I know he's a big Souls fan. Shout out to Chris. He says, not paying attention to their stamina. Definitely. Yeah, stamina. I think this is more of a mistake that you'll learn more quicker, because obviously you're going to look and see that stamina bar being wasted away. You're going to notice that you're out of breath, like your character's not moving, can't roll anymore, can't dodge. So I think it'll click quicker as far as like figuring out what they did wrong. But yeah, this could definitely be a mistake that people make for sure. Olive just said being set in their ways. Did we expand on this? This person just says, that's 100% me. But yeah, I guess being set in the ways of like playing games how they want, and they're gonna play it this way, and that's the only way I'm gonna play it, and then they end up getting frustrated, and then, you know, they swear off the games. They think the game's trash because it's not playing how they want it to play. And yeah, that's probably what you mean by that, I'm assuming. Yeah, definitely a mistake that people could make. I'm just kind of scrolling through because there's so many. We'd be here forever reading these, so I kind of have to pick and choose. Lewis says, thinking you can take on multiple enemies at the same time. And yeah, that's definitely a mistake. I did kind of touch on this in my first video, talking about how I kind of read the room. I kind of look at all the enemies and see what they're doing, how they're facing, their weapons they're using, like all that stuff you kind of take into account to figure out, okay, how am I going to take these guys out? Like one by one? Am I going to have to bait this one to come out of the room so that way the other ones don't get alerted? You know, there's always those factors, and thinking you can just run in there and take them all out, more often than not, it's not going to work. And especially if you're new and you don't know that area yet, yeah, it could be rough. So definitely agree with that. This one was a really good one. I remember reading this and I gave it a like, and it was from Steve. He said, fighting every single enemy every time, meaning getting to the boss for the 5th try with half their health potions. This is a good one, because after you've been through that area, you get to the boss, you have the shortcut, you have your bonfire, whatever close by to get to that boss. Yes, mistakes can be made where a new player might keep fighting those enemies one by one over and over and over when they don't need to. Once you kind of have your path to the boss, you could more often than not just run there. There's always a way to just get there. And yeah, I could see that happening, because if they're trying to fight every enemy, they get hit a few times, they're using flasks, potions, whatever, they're going to get to the boss with not enough items, not enough health, and that's not good. So yeah, running there you can do, and once you kind of know the area, you know exactly where to run and what to do, you can do that. So yeah, that's a good one, Steve. That was definitely a good one. Ace said, expecting any type of hand holding. Yeah, these games are not really known for that. That's why there's so many of these advice videos and so many of these videos where it's like how to do this, how to do that, because yeah, a lot of it is like we kind of have to figure it out on our own. And that's, I think, the part that has people struggle, because they're like, it's not right in front of me. I don't have these instructions right in front of me. Elden Ring was a big one for that. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know what to do. And you kind of just had to figure it out. But that's what we praise it for, right? That's what we always say. Oh, it doesn't hold your hand. But it really kind of doesn't. But the more we kind of look at this advice and we look at what we should be doing as far as like reading things and looking at what's just in front of us to use and kind of like take in from the world, we kind of start to figure out like, you know what? Yeah, they're not holding our hand, but the answers are kind of in front of us too, in a way, if that makes sense. So it's interesting. The more you play, the more you kind of know what to look for and what's kind of the purpose of the game and all of that. It just kind of becomes more clearer as you go. So that's something else to think about. Lack of patience. Yes, I talked about that in the first video, along with the hack and slashing. Yeah, I talked about both. I just said, you know what, they go hand in hand, because if you don't have patience, you're going to be hacking and slashing, get upset because you die, then your patience just gets thinner and thinner and thinner. And it's just like a bad recipe for disaster, basically. So yeah, having a lack of patience is definitely one I'm sure we all agree on. Again, trying to go all Rambo, that kind of goes along with the whole hack and slash thing, taking on everything, trying to just, you know, be Rambo and not be methodical, which is not good, not for these games. This one, of course, is great. Stern says not understanding that dying and failure is okay. I said that in the first video. You got to accept that dying is perfectly fine, and it's part of the process. It's what makes you get better and understand what you need to do to succeed. And then when you do succeed, it's sweeter because you went through all those fails and you went through those trial and errors, and then you did it, and that's what makes it so amazing. A lot of comments about the hacking and slashing, for sure. Not understanding leveling, again with that. You guys definitely agree on that. Not grinding. So yeah, not grinding, not farming. This is a really good one from Are You Still There? Says it's a pattern rhythm game, not an action fighter. And yes, patterns, patterns, patterns. All the enemies, the bosses, they're just patterns. Like you just kind of have to watch and see where the opening is to attack. So it's the rhythm in a sense to where you're dodging at the right times, attacking at the right times, blocking, parrying, you know, whatever the case, at the right opportune times. And it can feel like a rhythm game, especially if you're playing Sekiro or something like that. Even games like Wulong, I felt were kind of like a rhythm game because I'm parrying so much and I'm just kind of dancing with these bosses, right? That's kind of a thing that I feel a lot when it comes to Souls games, is I feel like I'm dancing with the bosses, and it's a fun feeling. It really can feel like a rhythm game. It's not like an action fighter like they're saying here, where you're just constantly mashing buttons, combo buttons, connecting combos and stuff. That's not happening, at least for the most part, for most of the games. Not putting enough souls into their health early on. You know, which game was it where you really needed health? I think it was Elden Ring, right? It was kind of stingy, and you kind of needed a lot of health for certain bosses, definitely. So yeah, I would have focused on health for sure. Like if you're doing strength, health, then sometimes stamina. That's like my routine. I level up strength first, maybe 3 times, and then for every 2-3 times I do health, and then for every like 10 times of those combined, stamina. That's what I do, and it works. I feel like it's safe and it works. This was a good one too, where they said sweating lost souls, and there was a few others who said that too, like just stressing about losing all your souls. It sucks. There's times where it's like, damn, that really sucks. But to get hung up on that, it's not really the end of the world, and you can get them back, you can farm, and even just going through the game naturally, you're gonna get your souls back, you're gonna level up, you're gonna be fine. But I think as a new player, when you lose your souls for like the first time, like a big chunk, it kind of hits you like, sheesh, that sucks, and you get down like you think it's more than what it is. It's worse than what it is. And yeah, that can definitely be a hang up, I think, for new players. That's a good one. We have a few here where it's saying just giving up too early, giving up too soon. I talked about that in the first video. Saving all the souls or containers they receive early on. This is a good one. And then waiting till the very end to use them. So they're talking about the ones that you pop to get more souls. And I did that. I actually did that in Dark Souls 2. I didn't even read the item, which was another, mistake I was making. I wasn't really reading stuff. And I had all these souls that I could have been popping along the way instead of having to farm or just beat my head against the wall because I'm not leveled up enough. Little did I know I had these souls, these items that I could be popping to get more souls. So yeah, that's definitely one. Christopher, that's a good one, because I did that. Again, we have, worrying about lost souls. It doesn't matter as much as you think. Yeah, it's kind of along the same line we were just talking about. Again, with the button mashing, spamming. But this one I think was actually good. Yeah, this is a good one. Well, they're all good. But I mean, this one actually went deeper. Okay, so Rich says spamming R1 right bumper instead of swinging with intent for each press. That's a good one, because you're saying don't button mash and don't hack and slash, but you're timing them instead. You're waiting for those windows of opportunity, and you're swinging with intent. Yes, with intent. And making it count. And that I fully agree with, for sure. Even when you die, you learn, and progressing, even by 1% at a time. Yeah, the little victories. We talked about that in the first video. Little victories mean a lot with Souls games. Just doing the little things and succeeding is a big deal. And it keeps you motivated too. Keeps you motivated, and when you appreciate those little victories. Stalinger had an interesting one. He said YouTubing guides. Now, I somewhat agree, but at the same time, I'm not opposed to people looking things up. Maybe I'm a little biased because I've made how-to videos and some of them have done really well. So to know I've helped that many people is pretty damn awesome. And I think it's perfectly fine that they want to look those videos up. So maybe I'm a little biased, but I don't really feel it's such a bad thing. Guides though, for like the full playthrough, maybe not so much. Maybe keep some stuff for surprise. But if you're genuinely struggling with something, or you're genuinely lost, I think it's cool to look something up. I would say go for it, because if that's going to make you enjoy the game more and not have you super stressed, I think, why not? I think that's totally fine. This one's kind of funny. They said, Jay said, not pre-booking anger management classes, stocking up extra controllers, med prescription, ready to collect, amongst other things. So they're basically saying you're gonna rage. But I know they're probably being funny, but I don't think you would rage that much if you understood that you should expect to die. I think that's what has helped me, is I always expected I'm gonna die, so I was prepared for that. It wasn't like I was thinking I'm gonna go in there guns blazing, freaking Rambo, and I'm never gonna die. And that could be a mistake people make, and we're talking about that. I'm sure we've read a few already. But for me, I mean, I just felt like if I went in there expecting to die, I wouldn't rage as much, if that makes sense. So yeah. That's a funny tweet though. To expect to get it immediately. That's true, because if you're expecting to just have it all click and everything is just easy and you understand everything, when that doesn't happen, you could get frustrated. So yeah, I think that could be a mistake, just expecting to get it immediately and understand everything, because that's not going to happen right away. You got to play it. You got to marinate in it a little bit. You gotta give it some time for it to click, especially with like specific things. You're not going to understand everything. That's true. Thinking that dying means you're bad at the game, you're expected to die like a bunch of times. Yeah, agreed. It's the expectation. Even the best players are gonna die. Let's see, marrying themselves to the lock-on. Ooh, that's a good one too, because there's some bosses that actually are harder when you lock on. That has definitely happened to me. So if you feel like it's awkward with the camera, or it's like getting you killed because you're locked on and it just doesn't feel right, feel free to lock off of that and just kind of circle around, run, do what you got to do to get in a position. And sometimes there's even bosses where you're locking on and then you have to not lock on at certain moments, then lock back on because the camera, or they move, or they run or jump in the air or something like that, and you want to line them up again, kind of thing. That happens too. So yeah, I would say this is a good one. Don't marry yourself to the lock on. It's not the end all be all. You can definitely work around that for sure. That's a good one. See, you guys are good. Saint says, biggest mistake is thinking the game is the problem when they die. You are the problem. You aren't good yet, and that's okay. Keep trying. So yeah, I guess just blaming the game. I mean, that could go across with anything. Like, I know there's been other games I've played where I felt like, oh, this felt janky, or it felt like unfair in a way, but really it was kind of you just not really, or me, I should say, not really doing that well, you know, not doing so hot. So yeah, that could definitely happen. I think players could focus on that and just blame the game when it's really them, and they should be focusing on what they did wrong, basically. Honest to critic, again, kind of saying the same thing we saw earlier about killing all the enemies again and again when they respawn, and you're just maybe going to a boss or something like that. You've already explored the area. It's okay to run past them and kill strategically. Yes. Again, thinking they're supposed to kill everything they see. See, you guys are all kind of in the same space. You're all there. You're all there. So yeah, a lot of agreeing in this for sure. Thinking dying is bad. Again, yeah, it's okay to die. I'm telling you, man, you guys are all kind of on the same page, and some really good stuff in here. Some stuff I didn't even think about, and I mentioned those. But yeah, I will link this whole thread on my video, so if you want to read all of these, kind of see what other people were saying, or even add to it if you'd like. If you're on Twitter, you can always add me too. We talk about this stuff, you know, routinely, so I'm always, you know, talking about souls and whatever else, and then that's where you guys can see links to my videos and stuff like that. So of course, follow me if you'd like. Let's read one more before we go. This is a very good one right here from Lewis. He says, try to fight fair. In a FromSoft game, just use whatever you can to defeat the enemies. Approach from behind, throw bombs, whatever. Yes, I agree with this. So the mistake would be fighting fair. So just kind of sticking to the rules, or what you think are the rules. But Souls games are about bending the rules. The bosses do it, the enemies kind of do it too. They'll hit you through a wall. Like their swords and stuff will go through a wall. So in turn, you can do that to them. You know, you can door cheese, use a door to kind of block them from getting you, and then you can hit them through there. Or you can cheese in different ways, just bending the rules, using items, throwing bombs, like they said, approaching from behind, backstabbing. But yeah, you can definitely bend the rules with Souls games. And yeah, that might be something that new players don't really get at first. They don't see it yet. It could take time. And then they might get so frustrated before that even happens, and they miss out. They miss out on the cheese. They miss out on, you know, kind of just being super clever and finding ways to beat these bosses that maybe others never tried, you know? So that's definitely a good one, Lewis, man. You killed it. This is a good answer right here. But yeah, man, that's kind of what I saw kind of pop out to me as I'm scrolling through. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was fun to make. I'm really tired. I actually just streamed for about 4 hours or something before this, and now I'm talking and talking and talking still. My throat is sore. So I'm gonna end this video. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video. All right, bye.